fans, this is your Formula One News Hour. I'm Jonathan Steele, your host. It is Saturday, May the 6th, and it is time for the Miami Grand Prix qualifying session. In practices, no surprises with the top 2 or 3 teams as always, and Red Bull always at the top, and Ferrari in there with them. Of course, this year Aston Martin is doing much better, so things are looking very, very good for Aston Martin this year. The other team that's kind of looking better this year is Williams. Although last week in Baku, Azerbaijan, they didn't really have such a good race, but for the year, I think they've got to be pretty happy with the way things are going. You'll see I'm wearing headphones today so that I don't have to keep messing with the TV volume. I'm just got it plugged into my laptop, so I got the sound going, so I can hear what the commentators are saying in the background and bring that to you. And I can also hear when the drivers are talking to their teams from the car when things are going to go wrong or need some adjustments or making mistakes and stuff like that. So anyway, let's start by thanking our sponsors for this Miami Grand Prix, and that would be Thinology, Give Send Go, Moms for Liberty, and CloudHub. And we're going to add a new one. It's a local company here in Austin, Texas, actually in a little town close to us. It is Bastrop Bookkeeping, and love to have Bastrop Bookkeeping on board, because the owner of Bastrop Bookkeeping is a big fan of Checo Perez. So if you're in the Austin area, or more importantly in the Bastrop area, which is a town about 30 to 40 minutes east of Austin, and you need bookkeeping work, then the place to go is Bastrop Bookkeeping. That is Bastrop Bookkeeping. A very nice squad of ladies there that own and run that little bookkeeping practice. So please, if you're in that area and need bookkeeping work, give Bastrop Bookkeeping a chance and a call. That's bastropbookkeeping.com. Okay, so the race, or not the race, but the cars are coming out on the track to do their warm-up laps before we get into this. We've got 16 minutes to go in Q1, and if you remember, the way this qualifying works is they lose. There's 3 qualifying sessions: Q1, Q2, and Q3, and each up until through Q3, the bottom 5 cars drop out, and then in Q2, the bottom 5 cars drop out, and that leaves the top 10 cars then in line for trying to get pole position. And folks, it's not just important to get pole position in these cars. It's also very, very important to get up there in the front rows, and if not on the first row, the second, third row is also on, fourth row is also important, because that way you don't get caught up with the slower cars in the background. So this race has 19 turns. They have resurfaced the track since last year. It started to break up towards the end of the race last year with the asphalt coming loose, and so they brought in a company that actually specializes in building racetracks to relay the surface of the racetrack. That has brought on a number of different scenarios for the drivers this year. Some are complaining that it's quite slick. Checo Perez said it's like going out on your hard tires. The grip is just not as good as it is on the soft compound or the medium compound tires. So it's going to be interesting to see as the free practice is over. As qualifying moves through the afternoon here, exactly where some of these cars are going to end up. I would predict that we're going to see either Max Verstappen or Leclerc on the pole. I'm going to probably look, after watching the practice sessions, I'm going to probably vote for Max Verstappen. But Leclerc, who was Jenson Button, I think it was, that said, no, not just Jenson Button, a guy called Marco no, I'm sorry, it was it was Graham Hill's son. I think his name's Colin Hill, said that in his mind, Charles Leclerc is probably the fastest race car driver out there right now, which is he's kind of basing that on where Leclerc is finishing up here in the practice sessions and also in qualifying. So I'm sorry, it's not Colin Hill, it's Damon Hill. I can't get anything right today, but that's okay. As long as I get it right in the end, that's all that matters. So Damon Hill, who was a Formula One world champion back in 1996, so my memory's still working there, and is the son of Colin Chapman, who was a world champion back in 1967, I believe. I'm really having to dig into my memory back then, but that's my when I was really following Formula One as a teenager really closely. So anyway, and of course this year Haas has a new sponsor, MoneyGram, and so they're getting a lot of TV time right now because Magnussen just lost it going through a corner, but he managed to recover. So no foul there. He managed to keep it out of the wall. But every time there's a little mishap like that, and they do a replay, they kind of show it from the driver's perspective, and on the right there on the right and left side of the driver's hands are their sponsors. So MoneyGram got some good TV for their money right there. So Perez is just talking about it's pretty windy out there in Miami, and actually the forecast is for some rainstorms to be passing through. So we'll have to see and watch the weather, not just today, but also tomorrow for race day. Right now, with the times first times coming in, we've got Perez, Verstappen, Gasly, Ocon, and Magnussen in that order. We've got Hamilton all the way down there in 14th. And interesting enough, Alonso, well, he's just on his out lap, so he doesn't really have any time recorded yet. So as the laps come in now, and we're just in 5 minutes into the first qualifying session. As I mentioned, no surprise, Red Bull out there in front. I guess the only probably surprise is that it's Perez leading Verstappen. But Verstappen always kind of, the first lap or two out, first times out, he's always a little off the pace as he really measures up his car and really dials it in. Remember, these cars and these drivers, they're able to dial in different braking scenarios and suspension and torque to the rear wheels and all that kind of stuff from the steering wheel. If you listened to my podcast on the steering wheel last year, these are $50,000 steering wheels, so they're paying as much for a steering wheel as you and I pay for a car. But they can do make all kinds of changes to the setup of the car on the steering wheel. And of course, the car's sending a lot of information back. You hear me talk about that when we're talking about Thinology as a sponsor. There's a lot of information going back to the engineers on pit wall, and they in turn are relaying some of that information back to the drivers, and so they're able to then tweak the cars as they go through. And remember, in qualifying and in practice, then they're allowed to use DRS. So down the straightaways, and that's why in qualifying, especially in practice, you see times that are 4 to 5 seconds faster than race day, and that's because in race day there's two DRS zones in Miami. I'll check on that and get back to you if it's different, but 2 DRS zones. The DRS zones, of course, where they can open up the rear spoiler, and it lightens the weight of the car, so they're able to go boom right down. Gives them about 13 to 15 miles per hour more speed down the straightaway. But they can only engage DRS if they are within 1 second of the car in front. So there's kind of some nice regulations around the use of DRS. So there's lots of folks there at the Miami Grand Prix, and it's great to see Formula One really really taking off. 3 years ago, we had one race in the United States that was right here in Austin, Texas. Last year we had 2 races, Miami and Austin, and this year we're going to have 3 races, Miami, Austin, and also Las Vegas. So this will be the first year for the Las Vegas race. So really, it's really good to see as a long time, whole life Formula One fan. It's really good to see it really taking off here, as in the United States. I was reading this morning an interesting fact. So the last time Fernando Alonso qualified inside the top 5 at a U.S. auto race was actually in Indianapolis back in 2007. Formula One moved around a lot of cities before really it took off. And if you watched my podcast with Mario Andretti, he credits the track right here in Austin, Circuit of the Americas. He credits that track with really being the glue that made this Formula One as popular as it is today. So right now, Charles Leclerc has moved in behind Perez, and Verstappen has dropped to 3rd. Verstappen, though, has not really tried to add anything to it. Alonso is in 4th, and Magnussen is in 5th. In the bottom 5, we have Tsunoda, Norris, George Russell, and De Vries, and Hamilton's on an outlap now. So Logan Sargent in the Williams team is he's just clocked in at number 15. So we've got about 7 minutes left here in the qualifying session number 1. I'm wondering whether Verstappen is going to come out anymore and do try and put in another lap. He hasn't done anything in about 4 or 5 minutes. So it could be that he's just decided I'm into the qualifying 2 session. So we just nearly had a serious altercation there with Zhou Guanyu and who was it? And one of the Ferraris, Carlos Sainz. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. And Kevin Magnussen's having issues again. He's like I said, they're complaining about the track being pretty slippy because it's a brand new surface and it hasn't got a lot of tire wear into it yet. So if they don't stay on their line, if they don't catch the line of all the other cars, and where the rubber's been laid down, then of course they're having trouble keeping the cars on the track. So let's see now. So Verstappen has just done a lap, and now he's got the fastest lap at 1:27, followed by Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Alonso, and Stroll. So very nice to see both of the Aston Martins up there really in 3rd position, although they're in 5th and 6th as a team. They're in 3rd position, so that's really, really, really good to see. And hopefully this race this week we'll see more competition, a much more interesting race than we did last week. And an interesting thing, if you remember last week, one of the things that I said was that, Formula One needs to do something about the competition, because just watching these cars going around and around in circles gets to be a boring, 1.5 hours. And it's interesting because midweek I thought maybe Lewis Hamilton's listening to my podcast, because he came out and said almost word for word exactly the same thing that I did about Formula One and having to create more competition, change the rules to create greater competition amongst these cars and drivers than there is right now. Now, I'm going to listen to Charles Leclerc here for a second. Well, I missed it. I was busy. I was too busy talking to listen. I am listening in the background, and Charles Leclerc, who just about took out Joe Granu there a few minutes ago. Of course, they don't do it deliberately. The track is slippery, and the cars are pushing it. They've got understeer, oversteer. Oversteer is going to cause them to go wide on the corners, and that's what we saw with the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. As he went into the turn, it kept pushing him, and Joe Granu was already out there. So very, very a tricky situation. Fortunately, nothing happened. Both cars came away unscathed, and so we've got now 3 minutes and 46 seconds left here in qualifying session number 1, and nothing changed at the top, with the exception of Alex Albon in the Williams just kicked in the 5th fastest time, and so pushed back the Aston Martin cars to 6th and 7th. That is really, really interesting. The other interesting thing is both the McLaren cars are way down there. They are number 18 and 19. I would love to know what happened at McLaren this last over the winter time. Did Daniel Ricciardo leaving really upset the boat that much? Because ever since Ricciardo walked out of there, well, he didn't walk out. He was asked to walk out. Incidentally, he's still getting his full salary. I think he's making $12 million to sit and watch these races. I wish somebody was paying me $12 million to sit and watch the races. But anyway, yeah, very interesting that the McLaren cars are really struggling this year. I don't know if they've got any points yet in the World Championships. I'll have to look that up between the sessions here and see between qualifying 1 and qualifying 2 and see if any of the McLaren drivers have scored any points. I know for sure Piastri. I'm saying I know for sure. I better not say that, because don't you know I'll be completely wrong. But I will look it up between the sessions and see if we can bring that information to you. But right now, I would say this qualifying session is going to end with Verstappen and Perez up at the top. The other interesting thing is that the Mercedes are also down towards the bottom, in the bottom. So Russell, they're on their outlaps right now. So we'll find out here in a few seconds just exactly where it is that they're going to fit. But Perez is doing another outlap. So I don't think, in fact, Max Verstappen is in the pits. So I don't think he's coming back. In fact, it'd be pointless, because it's about 1 minute. He's done 1 minute 27. He's still in the pits with 1:20 to go, so he couldn't even get around again to get in another qualifying lap. So he's going to be happy at 1:27.36. He is Magnussen. Whoa, there's something very interesting. The Haas car of Magnussen has just pulled in a 1:28. He's slipped back to number 4. And Hulkenberg. So now both the Haas cars are in the 4th and 5th position, and they've pushed Alonso and Stroll back into 10th and 12th position. So we're starting to see some really, really fast times. In fact, the time between the 1st place and the 15th place, which will get kicked out, is 1.3 seconds. If you remember the very first race of the season, we had about 1.1, 1.2 seconds between the pole sitter and the 20th place. And we thought we were going to be in for a really, really competitive race. As it turns out, Max Verstappen just got in his car and drove away with it. But, yeah, so it's right now in the bottom, it looks, the guys that are in danger of not making it, Gasly, Hamilton, Russell, Piastri, and the Mercedes are not going to make it out of Q1. This has got to be the first time in I don't know how long. This is incredible. Is it going to stay that way? Piastri's 20th. Let's see. So, Russell, they're coming through. Sorry, I'm really focused here on what's going on with Hamilton and Russell. Are they going to get out? 128, 127. Now, okay, so Hamilton and Russell have just come home, and Hamilton is in 6th position and Russell is in 11th. So they are going to make it into Q2 session. So the guys that are not making it through into the Q2 session are Norris, Tsunoda, Stroll, and Piastri, and Logan Sargent. Logan Sargent coming in 20th there. So just amazing that the McLarens cannot get out of the Q1 and up into Q2. Something is drastically wrong there. So going into the beginning of Q2, we've got Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Perez, Charles Leclerc, and Magnussen are your top 5. And then we've got Bottas, Ocon, Hülkenberg, Gasly, Russell, Alonso, Joe Granu, and Alex Albon, and young Nick De Vries, who is with the Alpine. So that's kind of a surprise. Alpine have not done so well. It's nice to see Valtteri Bottas doing well. He's had really a miserable start to the year in that Alfa Romeo car. All right, so Q1 has come to an end, and we will be back in just a few moments with Q2. In the meantime, we really want to thank the main sponsor for this section of the Formula One News Hour, and that is Thenology. Folks, you've heard me talk about how much data these cars generate, and all of that data gets stored in a data center. Well, right here in Austin, Texas, one of those data centers is Thenology, and it has a private cloud, a public cloud, it has storage, it has co-location. Everything that you'd expect to find in a data center, you can find in Thenology. And it's not just any kind of data center. It is what we call an edge data center. So that means the latency coming out of the Thenology data center is very, very small, 4 to 6 milliseconds. Typically, if you go to one of the big guys' data centers, AWS or Azure or stuff like that, you're looking at anywhere from 15 to 22 seconds, which is a lot. When you're talking about needing things for IoT, technology such as that. IoT is Internet of Things. You know, your refrigerator's connected to the internet and all that kind of stuff. So Thenology is an edge data center with edge technology, and it is located in Austin, Texas, and you can find it at Thenology.com. That is Thenology.com, and we'll be back in just a moment with Q2, and I'm going to look up and see if, in fact, any of the McLaren cars have developed have gained any drivers' points this year. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everybody, and we're getting ready for Q2. And I did check, and the McLaren guys have 4 points each. So I was wrong in that they had 0 points, but really nothing to write home about with really the quality of those two drivers. There's real problems with those cars, and you got to feel bad for them. So we're getting ready for qualifying session 2. In fact, it is starting in 40 seconds. Before we get going, let's thank the sponsor of this section of the Formula One News Hour, and that is brought to you by Moms for Liberty. Folks, there's a lot of stuff going on in the schools here in the United States that is not good. We're not teaching our kids math and science and English and all the things that will make them successful in life. Rather, we're putting on drag shows, and we're talking about critical race theory and all these other things that, while may be important to socially later on, is not going to help them at all gain a good job or have a good career in whatever it is they choose to do in life. They need to have the teachers focusing on, and the school boards focusing on educating our kids with the things that matter. And the folks at Moms for Liberty are really focused on doing that. They're really focused. They've got over 183 chapters here in the United States, and they are focused on getting parents involved in running for school boards and getting involved with their kids' education to get away from all of this, I would call, social and cultural type stuff, and get the teachers back to focusing on education. So, folks, if you'd like to help out, if you'd like to get involved, go to momsforliberty.org. That is momsforliberty.org. Okay, so we are now, Q2 has begun. Each qualifying session gets shorter than the last one. So this one is right at, I think it's 15 minutes. We got 13 minutes and 56 seconds left. I think the first one is 20 minutes, and I think the second one is 12. I think we've been over this before, and I got it wrong then. So hopefully I haven't got it wrong again. But anyway, so the 15 cars are out there. It's nice to see Alex Albon out there for the Williams car. For those of you that don't know, Frank Williams, the founder of Williams Racing, he was injured in an automobile crash in France back in the late 70s that left him paralyzed. He was in a wheelchair for the last 30 years of his life. But fortunately, that didn't affect his brain or his enthusiasm for Formula One. And of course, Williams Racing is one of those big names in Formula One. Has been since, like I say, since the 70s, and continues to be today. Just an interesting piece of information for you. Jackie Stewart raced for a guy called Ken Tyrrell. Tyrrell Cars, and Ken died about, it's probably 15 years ago, but he was a very successful car designer and builder as well. But anyway, the remnants of Tyrrell Racing is the Mercedes team. So for all you history buffs, if you want to find out how Mercedes team came along, Tyrrell sold out, and actually he got forced out of the team after he sold. He was kind of helping manage it and everything, and there was a disagreement. Anyway, he ended up being forced out. But so Tyrrell Cars became over 2 or 3 reiterations of being sold. It is the Mercedes team. Just little bits of neat information there. So there's no times being posted right now, as all the cars are on what we call the out lap. Remember what we talked, they get out there, they need to warm the tires up. And that's something that's changed this year in the rules. If you haven't watched Formula One, when these cars are in the pits and when they're not driving, they put blankets over the tires, and those blankets have warmers in them. And so this year they have reduced the number of minutes that those blankets can be put on the tires, especially leading up to the race and things like that. So, and none of the drivers like it because it takes longer then to warm the tires up when they're out there on the track. And in the very beginning, they've got to be really careful that they don't spin out and lose the car. So, and there is talk that they're going to do away with the tires altogether. So we'll have to wait and see. But right now, the powers that be in Formula One are talking about getting rid of the tire warmers. And so we're now seeing our first qualifying laps come in Q2, and no surprise, Verstappen is out there number 1, Perez number 2, number 2, Alonso right now is number 3, and real nice surprise. This is great news. One, because Haas is an American team, so it's good to see, but both the Haas cars right now are in 4th and 5th. Hülkenberg in 4th and Magnussen in 5th. They're followed by Russell and Hamilton in the Mercedes, and the Ferraris are kind of down there a little bit right now. They're just showing a replay of the Magnussen. So they cut this corner, and it's got like a curb in it, and the cars kind of bounce over that. Why they put the cars through that, I don't know. But anyway, it's good. It's good for MoneyGram because they're getting lots of advertisement, which of course, that's why they sponsor these cars, is to get their name out there on TV. And just an FYI, the Formula One race each week has about 100 million viewers. Think about that. Every week a Formula race is going on, it reaches 100 million people. So when these guys are being asked to cough up 50 or 80 or 100 million in advertising sponsorship revenues, then to them it's well worth it, because in one race they're reaching, like I say, 100 million people. Just crazy. I can't think of another sport other than World Cup soccer, but that's every 4 years. But where every week of every year they're reaching that big an audience. So I'd love to know what Sky Sports is paying for the exclusivity for the television rights for Formula One as well. But you can understand why Formula One is such a big money sport. And folks, it is a big money sport. So we've got right about 9 minutes left here in Q2. At the top top five is still the same. Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, and then Hülkenberg and Magnussen. And the bottom five right now at times is Hamilton, Joe Granu, De Vries, and then, the two Ferraris after that. So anyway, Esteban Ocon in the Alfa Romeo has just turned in a nice time and taken over the fourth position from the Haas team. But still, Haas team are really showing up. Aston Martin's showing up. So maybe some of these changes, and they're talking about a lot of changes coming into these cars, and as we head back to Europe next week as start of the European season before they head back out to the Far East. But it's really good to see other teams other than Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes at the top. Mercedes are struggling today. Right now in qualifying, they're down there in the 8th and 9th position. So and we've got Verstappen, Alonso. In fact, we got a whole bunch of them in the pits right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going on. Obviously, when they go into the pits, they're making very slight setup changes to the suspension and stuff like that, not based on the information they're getting back from the drivers. If you watch my podcast with interview with Mario Andretti, we talked about that. Back in the days when Mario and Jim Clark and Graham Hill and all these guys, and even some of these guys, like this guy that is on TV every weekend, and his name's just dropped me, and I'll think about it in a minute. But they all used to be able to take apart their cars. So when they were driving around, these drivers feel every wheel on the road through the bump. And the information that they're getting back from the engineers is coming from the car. But as Mario said, he said when the driver's not giving in any information back to the engineering team, he equated it to the doctor. You go to the doctor and you say, "Doctor, I don't feel good." And the doctor says, "Well, what do you mean you don't feel good?" "Well, I don't know. I just don't feel good." "Well, is it your leg doesn't feel good? Is it your ears? I mean, what doesn't feel good?" "Oh, I don't know. I just don't feel good." It's the same for the engineers for these cars. The drivers are not giving them any real information about what's going on with their car and some of the changes that the engineers need to make. So whole different expertise and a whole different sport today than it was 20, 30, and 40 years ago. But just as interesting, maybe more so sometimes and not so sometimes, because back in the days when I was going to the races, just as a spectator, it used to be, cars were winning by, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I mean, there was really no excitement to it. The excitement was which car's going to break, which car's actually going to finish, because a lot of them didn't finish. You had a lot of crashes. You had a lot of mechanical failures, all that kind of stuff, which kind of made it very interesting. And the other interesting thing was you could just walk anywhere you wanted on the track. You just walk across the track to get to another part of the track, and that was just the way it was. Those days have long gone, of course. But last weekend, if you remember, at Baku, they had all of this press and photographers out there standing in the middle of pit lane. When Hülkenberg had to come in for a pit stop, or he would have got disqualified. How nobody got injured in that, I'll never know. But I'm sure you'll never see that again. So we're starting to see. I think Verstappen's just going to stay in the pits along with Perez. Right now, Carlos Sainz has taken over second position from Perez, and and Alonso's still in 4th position. He's in the pits. Leclerc is in 5th position. Ocon is in the pits. Albon is out. So we've got 4 minutes left in the bottom 5. This is just crazy. The bottom 5 is Russell, Hamilton, Joe Granu, De Vries, and Valtteri Bottas. But Bottas is recording no time, so there's good time that, and the 2 Mercedes are in the pits, and De Vries is in the pits. So something's not right with those Mercedes cars today. But I was watching free practice yesterday, and the beginning free practice 1, the 2 Mercedes were number 1 and 2. George Russell was number 1, and Lewis Hamilton was number 2. So I don't know what happened then. Oh, so Verstappen has come back out. He's on an out lap, so he's not satisfied with that time. That's interesting. And it may be that he's satisfied with the time. He's just they're expecting more competition in Q3, of course, because none of these drivers are putting out their best in Q1 and Q2. Let me rephrase that. None of the top teams are putting out their best. Although Mercedes better hurry up, otherwise they're not going to make it to Q1. But because all the lower ranked teams, the Alpines, Alfa Romeos, those guys, they're all trying their hardest to get up there. But the other guys like Verstappen and Ferrari and those guys, all they're really interested in is getting through to the next qualifying session so that they can get into Q3, and then they'll start fighting it out for pole. But of course, to get there, they've got to they got to tweak the cars. They got to get the cars in tip-top performance state to be able to get that pole position. And so I'm just watching. It's Alonso coming back out onto the pits. That was somebody. It was a dangerous release of the. It was too. It just the Haas car just cut in front of Alonso, so I'm sure the stewards are going to be taking a look at that. Of course, this is not the driver's fault when these pit incidents happen. It's the crews, because the drivers, they really can't turn their head because their head's strapped to the back of the seat. They can't turn their head very far, so they got to rely on the crew to help them get out there and make those kind of decisions to go. So really, there was a really bad thing there for the Haas car. But then, of course, it was a good thing because they got their sponsor on TV again, and that's what this is all about. It's all about the sponsorships and the dollars and cents and stuff. So Leclerc has just turned in a 1:26. That is the fastest time for today. And that goes back to Damon Hill's point of Leclerc being probably the fastest driver in Formula One today. He's had a lot of bad luck last year and to a certain extent this year again. But if they can just get the car and the driver and everything to sync all at once for something, then maybe he'll really start adding some points here. And so Verstappen's just come in at 1/10 of a second slower than Leclerc, and Carlos Sainz is 1/10 of a second after that, and then Perez is 3/10 behind. So you've got Red Bull and Ferrari in 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes Ferrari, Red Bull, Ferrari. No, sorry, Red Bull. Ferrari, Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull. Sorry, in that order. So let's look at the bottom. At the bottom, we are the Mercedes. Verstappen's just taken the fastest. He's just finished one. He's gone to a 1:26.8. So, but Mercedes are in trouble, folks. I don't think they are going to make it through to Q3. This will be a major, major upset. Esteban Ocon is up there for Alfa Romeo. Alex Albon is in there at number 9 right now. Gasly is on the bubble at number 10. Hülkenberg is in the pit. Russell just came in at 9th, so he's just saved himself. Hamilton is not going to make it into Q3. That is just amazing. He is in 13th right now. Wait, but Russell's on the bubble. Is he going to make it? So I'm just listening to the guys in the background. That is the first time that Lewis Hamilton has not qualified in the top 6 in a United States Grand Prix in his entire career. That is amazing. So those guys that did not make it through to Q3 are Alex Albon, Hulkenberg, Hamilton, Joe Granu, and Nick de Vries. Your top 5 are Verstappen, Leclerc, Alonso came in at number 3, Sainz at number 4, Perez at number 5. And I'm just listening to Lewis Hamilton on his radio apologizing to his team. Let's see, they're showing a replay of what happened. His car's sliding. So in fact, it's kind of doing this around that corner. So there's at least 0.2 of a second just gone. So that is driver error, folks. That is he got under the gas too quickly coming out of that turn, and that just pushed him out of Q3. So this ends qualifying session number 2. We'll be back in a few moments, but let's go ahead and thank another one of our sponsors. And let's thank Give, Set, Go. Give, Send, Go, folks. We can't help what happens to you in life. You can't help what happens to you in life. Some good things, some bad things. But one of the things you can do, you can choose what type of crowdfunding and who in the crowdfunding space you are going to use. And Give, Send, Go are the guys that you want to use when you are trying to raise money to help a friend, to start a business, or to help a family person in need. We've had a lot of bad things happening here in the United States lately, with a lot of mass shootings, and a lot of those families that are affected by these mass shootings are going to folks like Give, Send, Go to raise money to help for funerals and all that kind of stuff. So please, when you need to help a friend, or you just need to maybe get some money to start a small business, please go to Give, Send, Go. That is GiveSendGo.com, and we will be back in just a few moments. And welcome back to qualifying session number 3. They've just been showing on the replay what happened to Lewis Hamilton, and as I said in the closing moments there of qualifying session number 2, he literally just got on the gas. He got offline a little bit, got on the gas a little too quickly, and that pushed his rear end out. So they're busy doing an interview with Christian Horner, who is the team principal for Red Bull. And I think mentioned in the beginning, they were talking about gusts of wind, and they're still talking about that. We're about to start the Q3 session. I see the green lights going on, so the cars will be coming out here. But right now, there's some interviews going on, and Christian Horner is talking about the weather. We haven't seen any rain as of yet. But as I said, it was forecast, but hopefully it'll stay away, and we'll get this Q3 complete. It is underway. It is, as I mentioned earlier, 12 minutes. So all the cars are out now on their out lap. So Christian Horner is not predicting that he'll take pole because he's thinking that Charles Leclerc is also very, very quick. So he could be just not wanting to push something, say something that is going to make him look stupid later. But because the thing about being a team principal in Formula One is you have to choose your words carefully. Unless you're trying to rile somebody on you. 2 years ago, the relationship between Christian Horner, a team principal of Red Bull, and Toto Wolff, team principal of Mercedes, there was a lot of bad blood going on. It looks like that, over time they've patched it up. It's like any competition. You're really trying to, and especially at this level, you're really trying to push the best out of your team and get the worst out of your top competitor, right? So, but it was a pretty, I guess, I won't say, well, it was nasty at times, but last year it didn't seem so bad, and maybe that's because last year Mercedes just wasn't in it, and this year they're not in it either. I mean, with Lewis Hamilton not even making it out of Q2 and George Russell coming in ninth in Q2, those are not good results for a team such as Mercedes. So we're going to see them. In fact, they're just starting their timed laps right now. So let's wait and let's see what they come in. They're just showing the times here for. It's interesting. I'm trying to watch the TV because it's a big screen, but I've also got exactly the same thing running on my laptop, and that's what I'm listening to. I'm listening to the commentators coming off my laptop and watching it on TV. Let's see. So there's no times yet, which is interesting. We've been out. Well, it takes about 1 minute and 30 seconds, say, on average, to get around. So on the out laps, it's going to be 1:30. And then getting into the qualifying laps, we're going to go into the 1:26s, I'm sure, because we're at the 1:26 as Q2 ended. So we still don't have any times. We're watching the car of Alonso. Actually, no, we're not. We're watching Sergio Perez on the Red Bull. Yes, and Perez just came in. Perez came in at 1:26, which is what Verstappen ended the Q2 session at. So Ocon's come in at 1:27. Verstappen is in the pit, so he hadn't even he came out and did an outlap, then went back into the pit, which means he wasn't happy about something. But let's see. So Pierre Gasly's in at number 3. He's the Alfa Romeo. Both of them in the top qualifying. They had a dismal start to the season, but they've really picked it up and come through now. And here's Haas again. Magnussen in at number 3, but he's nearly a second back of Perez. But still. Yeah, Leclerc has come in at number 6. Wow, that's pretty slow for Leclerc. Carlos Sainz has just come in at number 3 now, pushing Magnussen back. We've only got 7 minutes left in qualifying. So where is Verstappen? Is still in the pit. What are they doing? That's crazy. They're doing something on his car. Let's see. They're going to do a replay. We're going to see what happened to Max here. He went wide in turn 5. He nearly, yeah. Woo, something. He got offline or something, and wow, how he held that car out of the wall, I don't know. But that's kind of strange. Well, and they're showing a replay of Leclerc, and he just locked up. That's why he's down in 6th. He just locked up his left front and left rear. So that's interesting when you see them locking up those. Remember what I said? They can adjust the brakes either left, right, forward. So he's got some bad adjustments there on his brakes. If anything, if you're going to lock up, you want 2 lock up, either both front locking up or both rear locking up. You don't want the one side locking up, but you really don't want any locking up, because what happens when they get flat spots when they lock up, and then it's like driving a car with literally it's got a flat spot on it, so it creates an incredible vibration through the car. when you've got a flat spot on the tire. And it doesn't take much to create those flat spots. Lockups such as Leclerc just has, on those two left side tires, he's got flat spots, and so that's really, in fact, he's in the pits getting tires right now. That's really crazy. So everybody is in the pits right now. So Verstappen is still in the pits. It might do him good to get out. Something is going on in the Verstappen car. That's Sergio Perez. Something going on in Perez's car. Looks like steam or something coming out into his face. So this is really strange. With just 5 minutes to go in Q3, every single car is in the pits. So this, I would say, there's going to be one out lap and 2 attempt laps at the pole, which is not, as it stands right now. Sergio Perez is on the pole. So if nothing else happens right now, you got Perez, Alonso, and Sainz, Magnussen, and Gasly are your top 5. That's crazy. Verstappen's all the way down in 9th position. But the Ferraris are coming back out now. Leclerc's got a new set of tyres, and they're showing his lockup here. Oh, he touched the wall when he locked up those wheels. I didn't see that when the car went by, but he sure does. He scrapes out his right side, scrapes alongside the wall. So that's why he had to come into the pits as well, because he'll damage those tires against the wall. So let's see what we got going on now. That's a Red Bull car coming out. That's Perez coming out. Is Verstappen not this? So Verstappen is going to get one. And they're talking. I can hear them talking. Verstappen's going to get one shot. He's out of the pits now, but he's going to do 130. He might get 2. He might get to try 2 laps to make the pole position. So let's hope the race tomorrow is as exciting as the qualifying sessions have been. It's really good to see. It's good to see Lewis Hamilton not making it. I mean, it's not good to see it, but it is, because it means that if he's not up there at the top, somebody else is, and we have somebody else at the top. We got Alonso up there right now in 2nd. We got Magnussen in 4th. The Haas team have just got to be absolutely elated. It's a shame Hülkenberg's not up there, but I think he's in position number 11 right now. But so it's going to be a good start for Haas. Lance Stroll did not make it through into Q3. I just saw an interview and just listening. He was blaming his tires. They decided to stick with the set of tires that they had, and it didn't pay off. If they'd swapped tires, he's feeling they could have made another 2nd, which would have got him into Q3. But nonetheless, it's a long race. And we've just seen Charles Leclerc. Whoa! Jean Leclerc, he has spun out. We've got a yellow flag. I hope this is not a red flag, because if it is a red flag, Max Verstappen is going to be starting in... They've red flagged it. This could be the end of qualifying. This is crazy. And not only that, Leclerc has spun out, and he's going to qualify number 7, and Verstappen is going to qualify number 8. This is just wild. So Perez is on pole. Alonso is on 2nd. So way to go, Alonso. Carlos Sainz is 3rd. Kevin Magnussen is 4th, and Pierre Gasly is 5th. This is just crazy, crazy stuff in Miami. So the least of the guys you'd expect to hit the wall is Leclerc. And for all of that, even though he didn't finish qualifying, the time that he had is going to count. So he's going to start in the 7th position. Esteban Ocon is going to start in 8th position. Max Verstappen in 9th, and Valtteri Bottas in 10th position. I wouldn't worry too much about Verstappen being in the 9th. Let's see what he's going to say here. So I was trying to listen for Verstappen what he was going to say, but this is just crazy stuff at the Miami Formula One Grand Prix. And so that's really going to bring an end to the qualifying session for today. And we'll just repeat, we've got on the front row tomorrow, we have Sergio Perez and Alonso and the MoneyGram car. And they've had more TV time today than they could have ever hoped for. They're getting it right now. They are going to start in the 4th position, and just really, really happy, and so they should. That is a really, really good start. And they're going to show a replay here of what happened with Leclerc. Let's see what happened here. I don't know what happened. He just went too fast through the turn and just spun it out. But, wow, it just spun around and spun it. Oof. Yeah, he went into the barriers pretty hard. Now, if he has damaged the gearbox and they've got to change the gearbox on that car, that will put him back into 20th. In fact, I would say that they will start him from the pit road. But that was just really some bad decision making right there by Charles Leclerc. So, Damon Hill, if you're listening to the Formula One News Hour, buddy, your fastest guy didn't look too swift today. Obviously, one race is not going to change anybody's opinion. Leclerc is still a very fast, very good race driver, but he sure screwed up Max Verstappen's day and a couple of others. But Sergio Perez is smiling from cheek to cheek, and that brings up my friends there at Bastrop Bookkeeping in Bastrop, Texas. Your favorite guy is on pole position. So, folks, you want some bookkeeping? Let's give him another plug. You want some bookkeeping done? You're living out here close to Austin, Texas. Bastrop is right down the road, about 30 to 40 minutes east. And Bastrop Bookkeeping can do you a really good job of keeping your business books, doing your tax returns, all that kind of stuff. Look them up on the web, bastropbookkeeping.com. And so this is Jonathan Steele ending the session, the podcast for today. We will see you tomorrow. And until then, I hope you have a great evening, and we'll talk again tomorrow.